Hello everybody and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program, where we just put up the ESP-2 segment of the International Space Station. So next, of course, that means the P3 and P4 truss and solar arrays. So we will definitely look at doing that. Looking at the diagram here, the P3 truss is this little segment here. It's like a half-length segment of the P1 truss segment. And actually, it looks like these can be rotated as a block, but we don't have that. That's fine. We could maybe do that later. That could be a thing that we could do. So it's going to be a little segment here, and looking at the P3, P4 truss here, this is the unfolding of it. Oh, this is a very grainy video. Okay, I hadn't looked at this previously. But, yeah, it looks like this is very similar, except it's symmetrical. Okay, we can definitely do something like that. So that is reasonably fine. Looking at this is very similar to the P6 truss segment. So then the P3 and the P5 truss segments, we're probably going to decree are or actually this would be the P5 truss segment here. We're going to decree are very, very similar. So that will be the idea for the time being. So that means that we need to go into our, into our P6 truss segment here. But this is going to be the old version of the shuttle. Right. Let's load this up for the time being. And I want to open this and take a look at what exactly this is. Okay, so this is the truss segment here. So we would take this out, hypothetically. I don't think this is going to work exactly, because I'd want to do this, and then I'd want to open a modern version of the shuttle, which would be something along the lines of the ESP-2, right? So this, I think, is going to get rid of this segment, which I don't love. Yeah, that's exactly what's going to happen. So for the time being, I guess that's reasonably okay. What we need to do then is we need to reroute it. So we need to go into the P1 truss segment, or rather the P6, not the P1. Where are you at, P? There you are, P6. Okay, so we need to reroute this, which then means I'm going to use the reroute tool, and we're going to put this in here, right? So now we've rerouted this, and we can detach everything out over here. Now what I want to do is I want to not save this for the moment, and I want to load in the ESP-2 module here, and I want to merge this. Now the question is, how do we go about merging this? Well, we can open up this cargo bay. And we're actually going to need a new root part here, aren't we? Oh, okay, we are. We're going to need a new root part on the ESP-2 module. Okay, we'll have to reroute this. This is going to be kind of awkward. But we reroute this like this. We save that. Then we open in, and yeah, this is definitely awkward. We open in the P6 truss now. We load that fully. We reroute this to be the micronode. There we go. We ditch everything except the micronode, so we have just the P6 truss module. Now we merge in the ESP-2 to get us the newer version of the shuttle, and now we should have an attach point. And we do. So now we can bring this in and attach, if we can get it rotated approximately correctly. Like this, but inverted. Okay, something like that. Now we can reroute this again. Like that. Okay, we got there in the end. This is, of course, going to be the P3-4 truss module, and we're going to save that. So, now we can remove this. We can remove everything in this segment here. There we go. We can extend this target angle over to 90 degrees so we can work on this a little bit easier. Extend this out. And now we can put in, well, it would need to go this way. And we can just attach this here. Okay. So there we go. We've got a decoupler here. That seems absolutely fine for the moment. So that is all good at this point. But what we need now this is the P4 truss module, right? So if we look at our diagram here, that would be this component right here. This is the P3 module, or rather the P4 module. The P3 module is this guy right over here. So if we look at our integrated truss structure here, we can look at our P3, P4 truss. This is a little bit on the small side, but we can blow this up and it gets nice and grainy. And we can see this is actually, yeah, it's definitely not that flat structure, right? So that's very interesting indeed. But having looked at this, this definitely feels a little bit bigger in stature than the P6 truss module. Okay, so having looked at that, that gives us an idea of what we're going for here. So I'm going to save this. Now we're going to open up our... yeah, the ESP2 is wacky now. We can actually open that back up here. We can load this in. We can reroute this part to being this cockpit to get that set up correctly again. And then we can save that. Okay, that's fine for the time being. And then we can go down to, let's grab the P1 truss segment here. Okay, so we've got this guy, right? Now I want to reroute this, and we're going to route that to be here. Okay. And now we're going to ditch all of these parts. So, or actually, no, we're not. We're just going to save and continue this. Well, actually, don't save. Cancel this. Undo. Now save. And now open. Okay. This is definitely spicy, no doubt about it. But now we want to open up the P34 truss module. We load this, and now we're going to open, and we're going to merge in that P1 truss segment. So we merge this, like so, right? And we don't have any attach points. Actually, we can attach it like this. It's very awkward, but we can certainly do that. So I want to grab the modular girder segment here, and we'll just remove that. Then, what is our root part here? That's an interesting question. The decoupler. Apparently the decoupler is the root part. Okay, now this got rotated on us. Okay, so we can position that in here. We only took part of this out. Ooh, that's really awkward. Okay, I'm going to undo this. So we're going to undo again, and one more undo. There we go. Now, this is our root part here. Okay, I'm going to ditch at the decoupler level. There we go. Now, this is attached over here. We can detach that, and we can now use this to build this truss segment out. We do not need the thermal control systems, so we can ditch those. What we do, however, need is some of what exists here. So I think we're going to go for about this length. We don't need the full length of this. So we're going to go for about that. Then what I'd like to do is I'd like to mirror this around. How are we going to go about mirroring that is the ultimate question, though. I mean, there's not really a quick way to do it. And maybe I wouldn't like the way it looked, but it definitely appears mirrored. Although, I think that these are in truss mode. So it would be something kind of like this. We can still have it be filled in on the inside, and then we can grab the I-beams, and we would put them in at each of these boundaries, right? And we're going to want to re-strut this together a little bit, but we can put in an I-beam at each of these boundaries. I'm going to make sure that we're having snapping on, and we're going to snap these into position. Over this way, I think. Okay, this one needs to go up a bit. No doubt about that. Cool. And then out a bit as well. So we'll just have these be, oh, this is in absolute space. I want this to be in world, or rather in local space. Thank you very much. Okay, so we'll do something like that, something like this, and something like this. Now we're going to need to redo the struts, or rather the structural panels on this side. So, first things first, we are going to do this. There we go. So 1, 2, 3 of them. And then on the other side, 1, 2, and 3 of them. And then we'll snap them into position. No real snapping happening here, apparently. There we go. Actually, we need to be in world space to snap them, so that's fine. We'll go into world space here, snap them into position. This one still needs to be snapped. That actually looks pretty decent as far as all that goes. Then, this truss segment is going to get attached out on the end of this. Now, this is going to be very long, and we're probably going to have to make this fold up to actually fit in the shuttle. So, to that end, we're going to need a hinge here, and let's go into our robotic parts for that. So we'll need a hinge, and that hinge is going to be placed here, but I'm going to want to rotate it over this direction. There we go. Okay, and then we're going to grab this modular girder segment here, rotating this guy. And we need to figure out what direction this is going to need to be rotated. Hang on. Okay, so this direction, but the solar panels, once this is unfolded, right? Once this is like so, and this is not on here straight, I do want to fix that. Okay, let's take it off of snapping. Right about there or so. Okay, and we're going to want to redo the struts that are in here for sure. This is not quite as straight as I want it to be. Maybe about there. That looks okay. Cool. So I'm going to remove this strut for the moment, or more specifically, I'm just going to run it like this. And we're going to duplicate that and put one on this side as well, although that's going to lock this hinge in place. But we're going to want that for having it be stowed. For unfolding it, we're going to have to undo that, right? So that's definitely a thing that's going to need to happen. There's a strut here that is intended for stowage. That's okay. I'm going to remove that for the moment, and then we've got the lack of struts in here. There's this strut connector. We can definitely connect it up inside of here, but I don't know how necessary these really are. I'm still going to do it just for safety's sake. So we need to have our camera in here and have that be brought up over there like that. And then this last one is going to be mildly awkward. Something like this. Okay. Now we'll need to do the same thing down below. 1, 2, and this one's already set up. Okay. That looks good for the time being. That should be nice and strutted together. Obviously, we're not going to fit this thing inside, right? But I want to grab this modular girder segment and then angle this. We need to check our rotation still. But this needs to be angled out this way approximately. Okay, this strut should be deleted for the moment. And we would move this guy out and up. So it'd end up being positioned about here or so, but I want to move it over this way. Okay, so something like this. Now, what direction should the solar panels be going? They're actually going the correct direction right now. So that looks good. Fantastic. Now, we are going to actually need a docking port here because we're going to be wanting to move our P6 truss on top. So that is absolutely fine. We can grab a docking port junior and rotate that guy to be right like that. So that's going to put a second one of these right there. Looks good. So that's the overall module that we're going to be going with. Now we need to figure out how we're going to stow this, right? So this can be stowed like so. The question is, does that fit? Let's find out. Not quite on this side. Okay, we can absolutely move the interior of this over. Not you. Undo that. Okay, that apparently undid all of this as well. Cool. So we'll untarget, extend that, target angle, and this target angle is not set either. Okay, that's very awkward that one undo did all of that, but sure, we can get that folded up. And then from here, of course, I'm interested in changing where these struts are connected for the moment. So from here to about here, it really doesn't want to connect there. Boy, it really doesn't want to connect. Okay. Let's try from here to here. Yes, that works. Okay. So with that set up, that'll be absolutely fine here. That all looks reasonable for the moment. Of course, we do know that we're going to have to move this entire apparatus this way a little bit. So I'm going to grab the alligator hinge, and we're just going to slide that guy right on over here. Hopefully that won't offset our mass too much, but I don't think it will. We don't appear to be poking out of the shuttle, so that looks good. I think our... No, I don't want to load a craft. I want to save this craft. I think that we are pretty much done with our P34 truss module here. Now, one thing that I want to find out, and we may not find this out until we get to the station, do we currently have a docking port on our P0 truss, or rather our P6 truss structure? Actually, I believe we do, but we may have removed it. No, it has to be docked in, right? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. Okay, let's get this thing up there. Let's get going. We're ready to go on this, I think. So this will give us a decent location, right? And will give us some power. We're going to have to move our existing truss, which we can definitely do. That's certainly no problem. One question that I have is, oh, this is not going to be stable. We didn't strut this in. This is not going to be stable at all. We have to revert this. We're not ready to launch yet. Okay. Yeah, this is not going to go well. We're going to revert this back to vehicle assembly, and we are going to strut this guy right on in. As soon as we can here. Okay. We're also a little bit on the low side here, I'm noticing. So there is that. Let's just bring this up a wee bit and position it here, but it did seem to automatically do that, so that's not really that big of a problem. Okay, I'm going to grab a strut connector here, and we are going to, I think, tri-strut this. So 1, 2, that one doesn't want to go there. Okay. 1, 2, nope, it really doesn't want to go there. Okay. Okay, we'll put one out over here. There we go. Not duplicating that, but rather duplicating the strut. And then we'll just put this over here. That'll work. That should hold us reasonably well in position. Maybe one additional strut going from here to here. That should be solid. Okay, so we'll save that. We'll close this. Now we're ready to launch it. Let's go. So in theory, this shouldn't be too bad to launch. Hopefully everything is put together correctly and we didn't break our staging. I should definitely double check that. We did some things that may break the staging, now that I think about it. Okay, let's get loaded on in here. As soon as you can, KSP. There we go. So this is at 422 again. We need to take this down to 200. And don't skip circularization. Thank you very much. Double checking staging here. All of the staging is, I think, fine. Yep, staging looks okay to me. So we are, of course, going to select the ISS as our target, and we're going to launch into plane of target and engage autopilot. So that's going to be about a 3-hour time warp. Not too bad. That's only, you know, half of the day. Remember, days in Kerbal Space Program are 6 hours long. Cool. So we're much better at the plane of target now. And let's just check in here. Oh, yeah. That's very solid. Very solid indeed. I like it. So, of course, we're going to be lifting off here in about 8 seconds. And that's absolutely fine. 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. And off we go. Cool. So we're rotating over to azimuth here. There we go. And we can also pin open our big orange tank. Now, I'm not expecting any issues with our decouplage as long as I decouple at the right time. 2 to 3 seconds before it runs out of fuel in the SRBs is definitely the right time, but we've been very smooth on that thus far. Oh, we're going the opposite direction? Okay. I mean, that's fine. We know that it's okay, but this is just a little bit less historically how this was done. But that's okay. It's not like this has been a historically accurate series, so that's fine. As long as we just note it, I'm okay with that. So we can keep an eye on our fuel in our big orange tank, but that will certainly carry us up into orbit. No problem whatsoever there. Current apoapsis is about 8 kilometers. Definitely needs to get a bit higher. 10 kilometers. Yep, absolutely. So keeping an eye here on our ascending-descending node. Currently about 25 degrees off. I mean, considering where we are in the launch, I like it. That's certainly better than I would do. Good job, MechJeb. Good job. The one thing that I don't like here, and I'm sure there's a way to change it, but the one thing that I don't like here is the like rotational attitude that MechJeb takes. I'm not a fan of its rotational attitude. But I mean, that doesn't matter in any meaningful way, right? The rotational attitude is completely and totally irrelevant. Completely and totally. We've got about 10 seconds left in our SRBs here, and we're going to have to manually stage them. There is a way to auto-stage. In my testing, this didn't really work with our setup, so we kind of have to manually stage this because MechJeb gets very confused. Okay. Staging those SRBs, and off they go. Phenomenal. We're still working on getting some altitude here. Our SRBs have not quite carried us to the edge of space, but pretty close. It's interesting that MechJeb is this far over the horizon at this point, though. I would definitely be angling pretty much at the horizon at this point with the apoapsis height at 70. That's very intriguing. I'm not entirely certain why MechJeb has decided to do this, in fact. I mean, getting additional altitude isn't all that bad. It just means that we'll have more to burn in our circularization burn, right? And if we get the horizontal speed, we'll get the altitude. As long as we don't care where that apoapsis height is. And that might be what it's doing here. It's still working on the gravity turn, but it might be attempting to target us being in a reasonable rendezvous window, which I usually don't target. So that definitely bears noting. Ascending-descending node is just kind of hovering at around 2% for right now, but that's okay. And we're about halfway to our target apoapsis at this juncture. We're definitely heading more towards the horizon right now. Oh, of course. I'm dumb. We're inverted from the way we usually go because this is, like, not exactly retrograde, but it's retrograde from the normal attitude that we would take. So the reason we're so high is because of the angle of our engines. Of course. I don't know why I didn't think about that, but that's absolutely the case. You can see at the angle of our engines, we're going nearly horizontal. Yeah, that'll do it. That'll absolutely do it. So good job on that, MechJeb. Our apoapsis height is still only 110, though, remarkably. How retrograde is this? Not very. As in, not at all retrograde. Going this direction would be retrograde. So, yeah, it's okay. I mean, we're definitely burning off more fuel than usual, I feel like, but okay. It's fine. We've got the extra fuel, so it's not actually a problem. Fine-tuning that apoapsis and 227.9 meters per second. Yeah, seems okay. So our current ascending node is 1.3 degrees. That is a little bit more off than it has been in the past. No doubt about that. We can physics warp as we turn here, and let's just get ourselves into this orbital position and see what Mekjeb's ascent gives us. Okay, so now we can start the regular time warp. Looks good. We've got 2 minutes to go here. And there we go. We are about to fire up this burn. It'll be about a 9-second burn. Oh, I also didn't turn down the gimbal limit here to 33. That would help. That would absolutely help. That, I think, is a big part of it. I forgot the gimbal limit. This is good enough, Mekjeb. You can stop. Okay, so at this point, we'll go into kill rot. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what lost us that fuel, but it doesn't actually matter. We've got plenty of fuel here. 1.3 degrees is probably enough to get ourselves out to the station. Interesting timing there, to be sure. So we can do that burn sometime around here or so. And just bring ourselves out over this way, right? We definitely have some inclination issues, but we can fix that. That's no problem. So this is relatively fine right here. I think at this point, we're going to go ahead and ditch the big orange tank, reconfigure for orbital flight, and then we'll be ready to head off to the station. That will be a next episode sort of thing, though, so that's definitely going to be the case. Let's just get ourselves set up for orbital flight here. So 1, 2, if I can grab it, 2, there we go, 3, and 4, come here you, there we go. And now we'll just get our angle changed to 0 degrees. Perfect. And we'll get this re-anchored. 1, 2, 3, and I guess I'll grab this strut. It doesn't really matter. 4. Oh, didn't want to go with that, but we'll get it like that. There we go. So we're now reconfigured for spaceflight. Let's make our way back in. About like so. There we go. And we should throttle this down. 10% thrust for each of these. And then we're reconfigured for spaceflight. Now, we can head off to the station, but as I said, that is a next episode sort of thing. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and a very special thank you to all of the channel members for making this video possible, including ALS Gamer, Shadow Wolf, Andy McGar, Upper Cumberland Gamers, Nick Smarty, Dimitri H, Punching the Microphone, Soccerman12UK, Kentogan, and all the rest. And of course, you. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click the join button down below the video, and as always, I will see you all next time.